Hey everyone, and nice to meet you. My name is Daniel Rodriguez. I'm from Colombia, and today is the first talk about Google Incident Response. It's 5 talks, so I will speak every month during the next 5 months. And the last class is a CTF, so I will give you some logs or some data, and you need to start a forensic investigation in Google Cloud using the tools that you like. So this is the agenda today. It's my favorite playlist, but it's also the topics that we will talk today. So hey, it's the presentation and a lot of different meetings. So I use this technique just to I'm playing my music here, so I know if I'm good of time or not. So yeah, we will talk about when incident response failed. That is is a familiar thing. When there's an incident, we try to find what happened, and there's no logs, there's no data. So we will talk about the wrong things, and the next classes we will start to improve some detection and response techniques. So who am I? I'm Daniel Rodriguez. I'm from Colombia. I came to Sweden last year in May. I love this country. I love the culture, the people, not the weather. I work as a security consultant for Telescope Services. Yes, and my passion is incident response, digital forensics, football, cooking, and music. My Twitter is the virus. This is my website, thevirus.training. It's in Spanish, but I will start to write in English as well. So yes, let's start it. So the first is the mission. So this is our mission. We received this email. So the organization has this first assignment for us. So this email came from our boss to cloud security engineer. We are the cloud security engineer, and it was sent just minutes before. And our mission is to detect an attacker who is attacking our systems. Several files, sensitive files, are being leaked from our GCP buckets. So we have to find what happened, find who was the responsible, what time, and we need to research virtual machines, Kubernetes clusters, and cloud storage. So this all incident start today and will finish in 5 months. So we will collect a lot of data about GCP. It's a huge, it's a lot of data. So we will spend a lot of times. So I'm using this character from Metal Gear Solid, one of my favorite games when I was a kid. So let's start it. So when we start this forensic on incident response investigation, we have several options. So we need to start our mission. So we have 2 options. The first is use the Google shell, logs explorer that is embedded in GCP. So we have all the logs here. We can find a lot of logs. So I filter here for GCS bucket. So it's easy. I just go to operations, logs explorer. I put GCS bucket, and I start to find things. But what is the problem with Google? Everything is disabled by default. So we have some logs, but we can just see some specific methods here. That is when I create an object. I will try to. I will open this. So we have just 2 events by default, create and deletion. So it's not possible with this setup to understand what happened with our information, because we need to enable a lot of things. The other method is using the Cloud Shell. So we can just open this, and we have a whole Linux system here, and we can start to research logs. We can export that logs in JSON files. It's my favorite method because it's super fast, but there's no logs. So we need audit logs, platform logs. We need host or virtual machine logs. We need application logs, VPC flow logs, firewall logs, network capture, load balancing logs, cloud storage logs, usage logs, and GKS logs. But the bad news, oops, we don't have all of this. We just have some partial built-in audio logs and some GKS logs, and that's by default. So this is the official statement of Google. So if we need some logs, we need to enable, but they say that will increase the cost of your storage, and yeah, you need to access. So the result, we failed the mission. We cannot provide incident response. Not even if we are paying for a security command center, Splunk, or we have different tools in our environment, because everything is turned off by default. So not so many options. And this is similar. In all the incidents that I get involved, there's no evidence. So no evidence, no party. So yes, we are fired. We need to improve for the next mission. So that's the situation. And we have a lot of challenges here. So the first challenge, Google is a huge ecosystem. We will see in a couple of minutes that there's so many components and so many options, and everything is like a puzzle. We can turn up some settings, but that increases the cost and to us. There's a lot of data, and data is money. Always, there's no security budget. No logs, no evidence. If we want to download the logs or download the virtual machines or the snapshots, we have to pay a lot of money for data transfer. So the best option is set up the lab in Google. So I will teach you how to set up a forensic lab in the next session. And something important, we need cloud security skills. So I spent a lot of years learning Linux forensics, Windows forensics, but this is a whole new world. So super different. There's that's the same artifacts that we use in Windows and Linux are super different here. We need to learn these things. And the problem is there's several options. So we need to learn AWS, we need to learn Azure, GCP, Alibaba, and other players that we found in the market. And the last thing is lack of preparation. So when there's an incident, yes, call to Security Operations Center, call the Chief Information Security Officer or the SOC manager and fix the situation, but how if we are not prepared? So this is the goal of this talk and the next ones. So next topic, line of confusion from Genesis. So here we have the incident response process. I like these two in general. The first is NIST, so it's 4 stages: preparation, detection and analysis. We have containment, eradication, and recovery. And the last one is post-incident activities. And there's another model called PSERL, it's from SANS. We have 6 stages, but at the end it's the same: preparation, identification, containment, that is here, eradication, recovery, and post-incidents is lesson learned. So we will cover all of these stages in the next sessions. And I will teach you how to be prepared and how to act in this kind of crisis. Because when something like this happens, we need to be prepared. And we need to have a really good plan. So the first question is, what are we going to defend if we don't know what are our main assets or what are the infrastructure of the company? We cannot provide defense. So in a lot of incidents, they say yes, or GCP was hacked, all the infrastructure was hacked. And I ask, okay, give me an overview, give me your asset inventory. No, we don't have that. Nobody knows. How can we get this information? So we can get an asset inventory from Google, but just if we pay Security Command Center Premium Edition, we can have all the whole list of assets. But if we don't have money for security. So one important thing, this is how Google looks. So we have the organization. So this is the company that we are trying to defend. We have folders, we have projects, and at the end we have resources. This is another kind of setup. So we have organization, folder, and resources, and everything is related with IAM roles that are the policies. So we can set up accounts, and to those accounts we can enable specific roles, and those roles are assigned to these resources. So to understand more about this, we can just go here, and we have more information about the resource hierarchy of GCP, so we can understand what we need to do in some cases. What are we going to defend? So this is the whole Google ecosystem right now. So we have compute that is similar to virtual machines. We have storage, a lot of options for databases, for data analytics, for networking, for security, for healthcare, for operations. So we need to learn a lot about this. So it's not like, oh, GCP and it's just the cloud and we think that it's just servers. No, it's not. We have cloud functions. We had Google Workspace for identity. Yeah, a lot of applications. So I will share this resource with you. I will put I will share the presentation at the end of the. So here we can select, for example, this option, and we have several options here, like virtual machines, Kubernetes. So I can just click here, and we can learn more about GCP. So about where are the regions, where are the zones, and how is Google working. And this is super important because when we set up the forensic environment, we need to understand where is located the main infrastructure, because they can charge if we are moving data between different locations. So this is a key aspect. So next thing is when we request a diagram. And we use this for threat models, and yeah, there's no good answers. When we request a diagram, the architects, they don't have one, but it's easy. So Google has his own canvas, so we can just create here. There's a lot of templates. We can use icons, so we can just, for example, select financial services, and we can use, for example, this, and just drag and drop. We can build maps quickly, so we can understand what is the situation of the company. If we need specific companies, we can just click here, drag and drop, and yeah, it's a good way to understand what we are trying to defend. Yeah, there's some examples. So in the preparation, the next step is build a threat model. And this is common now. So we have a diagram. Yes, we have a diagram. We need to set the scope. So from all of this ecosystem, what we need to defend? What is the most important? Where is stored the most sensitive data from the company? So we need to set the scope. And after to set the scope, we need to see all the elements of the scope. So imagine that we select this, the core application service, and we need to understand Kubernetes engine. Okay, what do we have here? Or what do we have in this customer data? What kind of data is? Where is it stored? Is buckets? Is databases? What kind of databases? So we need to understand all of these things. Create a data flow, how the information came to the database and what are the outcomes of the database. Set the boundaries. And the fourth step is analyze the system from the adversary perspective. So it's like think evil. So we made this exercise when we produce threat models, is set the role of a hacker and start to think, how can I harm this infrastructure or the business? What can I do? What is the worst case scenario? And now that we know what we're defending, who are we defending against, we can enumerate some threats, vulnerabilities, risks, and countermeasures. And that's threat modeling. Easy, right? Actually, no. So we need to understand a lot of things. So we have the information about the infrastructure or the environment, but now we need to know our enemy. So we will start with threat intelligence. So threat intelligence is something new, and a lot of security companies, they said, oh, we are doing threat intelligence, and they are just taking indicators of compromise from public or private resources, and they just put in a platform, and that's all. But that's not threat intelligence. Threat intelligence is information that needs to be used to make decisions. Another way to express what is threat intelligence is information about adversaries that is used to make a decision. So the first time that I understand this, it was in a book, and they explained that threat intelligence was used in the Second World War because the Germans start to encrypt all the information. So the threat intelligence was, okay, we need to understand what they are talking to take actions. So this is the best way to understand threat intelligence. We need to understand who are the adversaries, what are the tactics, the techniques, the procedures, and with that we can set proper defense. So the next step is profiling. We need to build a profile of our threats. And we usually think that the threats are just hackers, like people from outside that try to steal our data. But there's a whole ecosystem. So the first is state-sponsored. So one of the first cases of a state-sponsor, it was a long time ago. It was a war between Iraq, Iran, and USA was here. Stuxnet, if you have heard about this. So it was the first time that we start to hear about states paying money to hackers to harm other states. Organized crime groups, there's a lot of, or this is a new whole business. So yeah, groups of hackers, they have human resource department, recruitment, they have financial officer, a whole organization, and they pay really good just to smart people that can create malware and can attack systems. Hacktivists, the most common is Anonymous, Lulzsec. They made a lot of attacks in the long time ago, just when they disagree about different statements from the government. They just start to launch denial of service attacks and try to hack government systems. One of my favorite things about hacktivists, it was this website, WikiLeaks. One of my favorite attacks was against FBI and the Italian company Hacking Team. If you never heard about Hacking Team, it was an Italian company. They produce malicious software, and they sell this malicious software to companies. One of the examples was the Colombian Department of Police. They bought this malware from this Italian company, and with this software, they introduced a spyware or malicious software in civilians' computers, and with that they just take all the information from computers. So a group of adversaries, they hacked this company, they stole their tools, and the emails, all the information was exposed in this WikiLeaks portal, and we learn about all of this. So we can see what emails they're interchanged with different police departments or army departments in all around the world. The other is terrorist. One of my favorites, malicious insiders, are common. Nobody suspects about these guys. and that's why I put this guy here. Yeah, nobody think that uh, the guy from finance can be a threat, but that can happen. Competitive organizations. So now there's a whole business around ransomware as a service, or denial of service as a service, or malware as a service, that I can just go to the dark web, pay an amount of money, is quite cheap, and they start to launch denial of service attacks or ransomware attacks against my competitors. And the last one is the script kiddies. The script kiddies is when we start in the hacking world. We are here like trying tools without the knowledge about what is the impact, what are the consequences, and what is the real ways of work of the hacking world. So yeah, it's a great threat group. So after we understand what are the main threat actors, we need to understand what are their motivations. So we have our company, we can map some our adversaries, but we need to understand what they want from us. So is intellectual property, is to harm one of our vendors. One of the famous attacks was against RSA, like 15 years ago. The final target was a bank. So the bank was protected by RSA tokens. So this adversary group just hacked RSA. They lost a lot of money because they have to replace all the tokens. It was physical tokens, so they lost a lot of money. The reputation of RSA, yeah, it was not good. But this is the kind of attacks. And the last year was Kaseya, yeah, SolarWinds attack. Kube was one of the victims from this attack. So yeah, they are using like if we are using monitoring tool, they can attack this infrastructure and they will impact the final target. Another motivation is financial fraud, extortion, and now we are seeing a lot of examples with ransomware. So a few years ago, like 2017, we start to see the first ransomwares. The first was WannaCry, and it was simple, just a malware, encrypt the data, and the impacted customer has to pay a specific amount of cryptocurrencies. But at the beginning, a lot of companies start to pay, but after some time, nobody was paying. So the threat actor decide to change his business model. So they start to make double extortion. So now this is common. So in these attacks, they encrypt all the data, but before the encryption, they stole all the data. And if you don't pay in 72 hours, they will publish the data in the dark web. Now we can see examples of Logbit 3.0, and they have new cool portals when they put all the information from the customer. So your customer and the name of the customer, you have 72 hours, and this is the list of information that we have, and you have to pay this amount of money. Espionage, activism, and revenge. Some ex-co-workers. A lot of examples. One was related with Google and AWS, guys that just took his account keys and they made actions after leave the company. Any questions? Good. What is the best way to understand these threat actors? So we have several resources. I will just mention some of those. So the first that I like is this website. Is a kind of threat actor cards that we can just check for free. So it was created by Electronic Transactions Development Agency from Thailand, and they have a full database with threat actors, and yeah, it's a good resource. So I will try to let's take this one. So they are from UK. Is quite old, and we can see a lot of information. What are the last attacks that they perform? Goblin Panda is another one, so we can see what are their techniques, how long they are taking information or starting hacking activities. Other nice resource is this from CrowdStrike. It's one of my favorites. So here we have the most dangerous threat actors, like for example Cozy Beer, and we can see the whole history about Cozy Beer, so we can understand what are their techniques, their tactics, and their procedures. So it's a nice way to understand what is going on. So when the conflict between Russia and Ukraine starts, was a good way to understand what are the main threat actors in those countries. So we can just click here and see by target countries or by industry. So if we are defending a gaming company, we can check here and see which of these threat actors are interested in gaming companies. So it's a good way. So if some companies are hacked, we can understand from their situations what we need to improve in our security posture. And this website is from Sticks. Is the way that we need to write a threat actor profile. So one way is traditional way, just open an Excel file or Word file and just put some information here. But they develop a full language to create this actor profiling. And we can create the threat actor profile and attribute to specific groups. And they have nice tools to build. We can check here. So it's like a JSON file, and we can create this. I have a full example here. Yeah, so we can start to consume different reports and create this kind of graphics to explain to our security teams. Okay, this actor, they use denial of service attacks, or they use techniques like Kerberos-sting, or they use tools like Mimikatz to stole credentials from the Windows ecosystem. So it's a good way to understand the threats. And one of the most used is Mitre ATT&CK. So related with Google and Kubernetes, this is one of the famous, is Team TNT. And they were famous because they take advantage of poor configuration in cloud environments, and they use their resources to launch crypto mining attacks. So with the capabilities that we have for auto-scaling in the cloud, they just take advantage of that. They deploy the crypto miner. The machine start to consume a lot of CPU, memory, bandwidth at auto-scaling. Okay, we need more resources, so they are smart. They are using these auto-scaling capabilities to deploy their attacks. So this is a really cool website, and we can learn, for example, from TNT, what techniques they use. For example, they install SSH keys, how they perform network scanning. Yeah, a lot of things that we can learn here. What software they use. So they use this tool called Lasagne. So this is really good to understand what they are using. Because when we need to, for example, in the attack, they compromise our network, a lot of computers in our network. So we can start to search about this software. And if we found this kind of software, we can say, oh, maybe it was a TMT attack because there's a crypto miner, we have these tools, so we can make attribution in an easy way. And there's a lot of groups here, so we can just go through this and see what are their techniques. And this website was launched yesterday. So I was preparing these slides and I was just looking in Twitter about news about threat intelligence, and I saw this really good website. Is ORKL. So one of the problems with threat intelligence is that when we try to consume threat reports, we need to go to a specific web like CrowdStrike or Mandiant. We need to fill a form, create a registration, and download the files so they have our data. But in this case, they have all the threat reports for free, so we can search from different sources. We can just take here and download this. So for example, this, I just click here, and we can have the threat report. So one of the things that we can make here is if I'm interested in GCP or Google Cloud, I just can take Google and learn from this group, threat group 4127, that was targeting Google accounts. So I can learn what techniques they use to install Google accounts, or if I want to learn more about TNT. So there's a lot of reports about TNT, and with this we can improve our defense, create new scripts for detection, procedures for response, or just create mitigations to avoid this kind of attacks. Yes. So now let's start with the threat model, because we have the diagrams, we have the threat actors, motivations, and some of their techniques. So yeah, some time ago, I was teaching threat modeling in the university. And nobody understood me what was threat model, because there was not too much literature about that. So I saw this fantastic post called "How I Learned to Stop Worrying Mostly and Love My Threat Model," and this guy used this example about Bruce Wayne or Batman to explain threat model. So I will use the same. So I adapted this because it was just a threat here. So this is our company. This is our customer. Is Bruce Wayne or Batman, and he has his assets. So the Batcave, Alfred, the emails, and the text. And he has some controls. He has security system, CCTV. He has high location in all his devices, and included his nice car. He uses encryption for all the message that he send or store. But there's some threats. One is the police, because they want to catch this guy. There's the journalists. They want to see who is this guy and talk about his identity. And there's a lot. The Joker, Bane, and a lot. Yeah. So what is threat model? Is understand what they can do to harm these assets. And we have these controls. So the police, okay, the police, so I will follow this path. Say that is low risk to the Batcave, but is more medium risk to the emails. Maybe they have the technology, but how Batman can know that? He needs to make threat intelligence. He needs to understand about what are the police using. And now it's easy because we have LinkedIn. So a lot of companies are posting, we are hiring Google engineers, we are using Kubernetes, and we are also using Alibaba Cloud, and we are using these technologies. So now it's super easy to know what the company is using, what are their main assets, what are their main technologies. So the same for Batman. If Batman hires us, we can do a good exercise to protect against the police. And the same for the others. So if they are using social networks, if they have profiles, company websites, we can learn about them. So this is threat model. So at the end, what is the purpose of threat modeling? Help Batman to prevent from these guys. Yeah, so if we need to put more controls or yeah, add more assets or reduce the asset landscape, we can do that. And there's so many ways to start threat modeling. So one of my favorite resources about threat modeling, it was from Bruce Snyder, December 1999. And he used a technique called attack trees. So attack trees is, I will show you the example, but looks like a tree. So it's a tree decision, and we can start with a simple attack and see, okay, if I can use this attack, what will I achieve? So these techniques, and we can just move on. So this was the first attack. It was for Windows 95. So the first action was convince sender to reveal message, bribe user, blackmail user, threaten user, fool user. Second, read message when it's being entered in the computer. So yeah, long time ago. So this is how this threat or attack trees looks. So yes, I can just using. So for example, I'm the police and I want to cause a harm to Batman. I just need to access a mail server and see if I can install the credentials. I can put a backdoor in the server, or I can just go to the dark web and see if they have Batman credentials. That's a common scenario. Why? Just because they are using things like this website. So here you can put just your email, and just with your email you can know if your username, password, or any other information were stolen. So I will use one of my accounts. Yep, from LinkedIn. So maybe if I did not change my credentials, the threat actor can buy this information or just take it from free from different sources and use this. So that's why we need to use multi-factor authentication. So one of the first recommendations for Batman is please use multi-factor authentication because your password is insecure and your password was stolen several times, not from your website, but from third-party websites. Yep, so it's a good way to explain to Batman why he needs to care about his mail server. And there's available cool tools to make this. So this is a website that they explain how to create attack trees using JavaScript library. And the cool thing is that they put the application for free. So the name is deciduous.app, and we can use this tool to create these cool threat attacks. And there are several tools, but this is my favorite. Okay, but to complete a good threat model, we need to understand how the attack happens. Because yes, we can see that the threat actor is using Kubernetes to store data, or they are using stole SSH keys. So one of the things that I learned during the last year was for free. Just seeing red teamers or hacking enthusiasts posting how they hack Google Cloud. So free material in YouTube, a lot of cool videos, and I know how to defend. I know how to enable the logs, how to put a firewall, how to put an IDS, but I need to understand the attacker's mindset. So this is the best way. So this is the 5 my favorite videos with I used to learn how to attack and how to defend GCP, because I'm not an attacker. So that was my previous job long years ago. But now, I need to refresh all all my technical skills. So this is the best way. This is my favorite. Is how the best attacks from the last year from the book bounties. So really cool attacks about all GCP environment, and yeah, this is really cool about hacking Kubernetes to deploy crypto mining. So with all this information, this is my favorite tool, is Mitre ATT&CK navigator. So I will. So this is a free tool from Mitre. So I will show you quickly. So I will create a quick map. So imagine that our threat actor is using phishing to deploy his attacks. So I can put just a number here and a score. So I put this score based in different metrics. So if we have controls like multi-factor authentication, if we have a good internet filters, a good email servers, anti-spam, so I will put 1 or 5. So imagine that Batman, we saw their controls, he just have encryption, but that's not enough for phishing, so I will put a 5. So here I can set up the colors, so I will put that from 0 to 5, and I was playing to Batman that 0 is good and 5 is bad, but I need to change the colors, so green to green. So for phishing, Batman is in trouble because he needs to set up some controls. But exploit public facing applications, I will score this with 1 because there's nothing too much public. And what is the cool stuff here? That we can go just click here and go through view technique option. So we can learn, okay, what is phishing? Some examples about threat actors that are using this technique to attack systems. Mitigations. So, okay, Batman, you need antivirus, anti-malware, you need network intrusion prevention, you need web-based restriction, because if you click the link will call a new website. But if you have a good internet protection, the request will fail. Yeah, and we need user training. Batman, you need to go to a security awareness training session with your team, and that's all. And for detection, we need application logs, we need files, network traffic, and a lot of things. So in this way, I can help the security posture on the company, because now I learn what is the main technique, and now I know what they need to deploy. So I spend a lot of time doing threat modelings using Mitre. Yeah, every time new conversation, and I spend a lot of time learning about this. But now there's an easy way to do this. It was released a few months ago, and it's this. It's the mappings created by Google. So I will just click here. So they build a tool, runs in, it's a Python script, and we can take the Mitre attack, put what controls do we have, and he will create the whole matrix for us. So this is one of the examples of full matrix. So the colors, some of the colors are for protection, detection, respawn, and other controls are mixed. So we can understand, okay, protection, we have for protection, we have lateral tool transfer, but we cannot detect that attack. Or we can protect against network service scanning, but we cannot detect. And we cannot respond to several of these attacks. So it's a cool way. It's for free. We need just to put our matrix there, use the Python script, and that's all. So I think we have a few more minutes. So for the next days, I will recommend some books that I really love. The first is the Security Incident Handling Guide for NIST, the Incident Response Planning Handbook. This is one of my favorite books because one of my tasks is create incident response plan for our customers. And when I go to this, or when I review some of the incident response plans of the customers, it's just a template that they took from here, but it's not a real plan. So here we can found real plans created for banks or for technology companies. And this kind of plans helps against malware attacks and data breaches. So they have all the information there. You can reuse the templates, and it's more complete than this. For technical people, I recommend crafting the InfoSec playbook. It's the best technical way about incident response and plans creation. And if you want to learn about threat intelligence, this is my favorite book. It was from 8 years ago when threat intelligence was started. It was created by some guys from the SANS training. So if you don't have the money to pay the SANS course for threat intelligence that costs like $8,000, you can just buy this for $35 and learn about the same creators of the course. It's a really good book. This is quite new. This book was released 2 months ago, and it calls Cloud Attack Vectors. So you can understand how the attackers are attacking AWS, Alibaba, GCP, and other cloud vendors. So that's all. Next session we will learn about data breach incident response. So I will teach you how to enable the logs in GCP, how to test this. We will create a preparation script. We will build our incident response kit. So we will build or we will set up a virtual machine in GCP, and I will explain you what are the tools that we need. What is the configuration that we need, the networking setup. We will create a playbook. So a playbook is just our step by step. If there's an incident, we just go to the playbook, because the incident response plan is more to executive level about how to take decisions for communication, crisis management. But the playbook is our runbook for the technical. And we will test our playbook. So we will just create some attacks to GCP bucket, and we will test our incident response capabilities. So that's all. Any questions?
No, it seems.
Yeah, good.
Would you recommend for people bringing their laptops next time for practicing those things that you would show?
No, I will give you all the scripts, and I will publish all the files, and you can just test at home. Okay. So maybe for the 5th session, we can create a whole CTF here and just spend a couple of hours playing.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.